Hello, everyone.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hi, welcome to Essence Table Talk. You know, Kim, today we have some wonderful people here,
Yes, we do. Wonderful
including
people.
yourself.
Including you.
You know,
Yes,
not
thank
to brag or anything, but I believe I have the best humanitarians in the Inland Empire
I
here.
agree. I totally agree with that. And they're going to
Yes.
share a lot of great information.
Oh,
More
yes.
about the programs that they're doing.
Oh,
I think it's gonna be great. It's gonna
absolutely.
be
You
awesome.
know,
Awesome.
the children, the people, the adults, they're all getting served somehow.
Right,
You know, it's brighter.
right.
It is so much brighter. And you invited someone special too.
I did. I invited someone very special. He goes to my church, Ecclesia Christian Fellowship Church. And he is a general contractor, and he has his own business. And he is the CEO and president for Heart to Heart nonprofit. And he's going to tell us more about his nonprofit and how he helps the community, how he helps the children and the adults and everyone. So we're excited. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you.
And share a little bit about what you do.
Thank you.
That'll be great to hear it. That's wonderful. And next to him, we have the supervisor from the 5th District of San Bernardino County, Joe Baca Jr. Hi, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Arlinda. Thank you for having me here today.
I'm so happy that you're here. And I know the viewers at home kind of are listening. What's going on? There must be something special because all these really unique people are united here today. Okay? So you were a councilman here in Rialto.
Yes, I was a councilman for 16 years.
16 years.
Yes.
Wow.
Nice,
Where did the
very
time
nice.
go? And what other positions have you held?
Well, I was in the California State Assembly, but my working life, I was a probation officer for almost 7 years for the county of San Bernardino, and then a public school teacher and coach for 15 years.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
So,
Yes.
Try to have a well-balanced background. So
Right.
and it helps me bring perspective on all the decision making we do as government officials.
Absolutely. And I see you all the time in the paper, all the time in the news, doing some wonderful things
Thank
out
you.
there. And I know I belong to a group called Pathway from Boys to Men that you just recently helped. And they're excited about your help. Thank you so much.
No, my pleasure. My
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you. And guess what?
Yes.
The best of all.
The best.
Joe Baca.
Yes.
And you were a congressman.
That's
Congressman you'll always be. You'll always
Thank you,
have that
Arlene.
title.
Always.
But you're also now here in the city of Rialto. And what do they call it? The ruby of the Inland Empire? The mayor, Deborah Robertson, calls it? Or the jewel?
The
of-
jewel. The
Jewel.
jewel. The jewel
Yes,
of the Inland
yes,
Empire.
yes. Deborah always
Yes.
calls it the
Uh-huh.
jewel of the
Oh,
Inland
awesome,
Empire.
awesome.
And we have the wonderful Joe Baca now here as councilman. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. It's nice to be here, and it's nice to be here with other individuals that care about people, because I believe that we're here to talk about our services that we provide, not only in the positions we have, but caring about those that don't have. I think that's the important thing, is reaching out and providing a service and letting our communities know that there are services that are available.
Right, right, absolutely.
It really is.
That's so true.
yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
So Alton, tell us a little bit about Heart to Heart and how you got involved with Heart to Heart.
Oh, okay. Heart to Heart is a nonprofit organization that provides shoes for inner city children, not just children, but men, women around the world. We actually got started through a friend of mine. His name is Emmanuel Ohomi, and he's from Nigeria. And he got his first pair of shoes when he was 9 years old. And he got a scholarship he was in Nigeria, and a missionary by the name of Dave gave him his first pair of shoes in Africa. And so Manny ended up getting a scholarship to come to the United States in Wisconsin. And so where it was cold at, so he didn't know nothing about the ice down there, right? It was snowing.
Right,
But the
cold.
story is great because he got his first pair of shoes when he was 9 years old, and then he ended up coming to the United States. And his goal, his dream was to provide 1 million pairs of shoes to 10 million children. 10 million pairs of shoes to 10 million people within 10 years around the world. And I became one of his workers, one of the guys that actually helped him to reach that goal, because I was on the West Coast and I was the West Coast coordinator for Samaritan's Feet for 8 years. And what happened was during the recession, Finish Line was one of the sponsors was sponsoring Samaritan's Feet. So they pulled out of from Samaritan's Feet. And so I asked Manny, I go, hey, let me continue to operate in Southern California on the West Coast, providing this service for the community and, just continue to keep it going. So he said, okay. So we made that agreement, and so we've been operating on the West Coast for the last 12 years, providing shoes along with Samaritan's Feet. We actually just did an event together just for Martin Luther King's Day in Los Angeles.
Very nice.
Yes, providing some shoes.
I know. You had one at Hunt School in San Bernardino, across the street.
Yeah,
from
just
Ecclesia.
recently. Yeah.
And I attended that one, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Just seeing the faces. Those kids were
Oh,
so
yes.
happy. They were smiling. They were happy.
Oh,
they were so
yes.
giddy and jumpy because they got a new pair of shoes.
Yeah.
And that was so. They were so grateful, and that was amazing.
And I learned I come to realize and understand that these kids, a lot of kids, when they go to school, but if their parent can't provide them with a pair of shoes, and that what they have on their feet have holes in them, or they slit on the side or whatever, so they get bullied by other individuals, right? So and that kind of triggers something, it makes them offensive, want to fight or whatever, the case may be. So just a pair of shoes would change a person's life. Just one pair of shoes would change a person's life. I've seen it happen so many times. There's one event that we did up at San Bernardino High School. It was two sisters. One would go to school one day, and they would take turns. We only had one pair of shoes. So we had the opportunity to go over to the family, to bless the family with a new pair of shoes. And then not only that is if you got 4 or 5 kids in your family, and if you got to purchase 5 pair of shoes or 6 pair of shoes for that household, and you're on low income, you can't do that. So and you could take that resource, those funds, and buy food, or you can pay a bill, or gas, or whatever the case may be, to get back and forth to work. So this service that we provide for the community is very well needed. So we have other organizations can come to our warehouse anytime if a child don't have a pair of shoes, or if they don't have a pair of shoes to get to work, whatever the case may be, and we'll provide them with a pair of shoes.
That's a beautiful thing. I remember when I was a young kid that my parents didn't buy me I guess they couldn't afford or wouldn't buy me a set of baseball cleats, and it had to be my brother that had to buy me baseball cleats. And I was so happy when I first got my first shoes. And so I'd like to see possibly, Elton, in terms of the program that you have, there's a lot of kids that would love to play a lot of sports, but they can't afford the shoes, whether it's tennis shoes, whether it's cleats, whether it's soccer shoes that they may need. I think it's important because these kids want to be active, but a lot of times won't be active in some kind of activity that's either done in the community or done through a school because they can't afford the shoes.
Yes.
But you're absolutely right.
Joe, you absolutely 100% right, hit it on the head. San Bernardino High School in 2008, I believe it was 2008, the kids up at San Bernardino High School, all of them was wearing cleats for hand-me-downs for the last 4 or 5 years. So I put out a call to all of the different colleges in the United States. Georgetown sent us over 500 pair of cleats, brand new Nike cleats.
Wow, it's fantastic.
So I rallied around the Raiders. I had about 10 different professional football players with rings on. All came up to San Bernardino High School. We were able to bless the kids, all of the seniors, with a brand new pair of cleats.
That's fantastic.
And we continue to do that. Just a few weeks ago, San G, all of the football players over there, they got brand new shoes. And we're working with the track teams too to get them shoes because this track season is coming up now. With
my granddaughter's on the track team.
Oh, okay.
So make sure she gets
Okay, I'll make sure she gets that.
It's for those that can't afford it.
Yeah, well then, I love your story. I mean, it's wonderful, and that's what I said in the beginning. I'm proud to be part and working with beautiful people like yourselves, humanitarians. Now, I know you do a lot of that work.
Sure.
Tell me what you do.
Yeah, so one of the things we did is we have the new Ayala Center, which opened in Bloomington, very low-income community. It's in the underserved community. It's what they call a census tract, so it's been identified as a very poor community. So one of the things I advocated and pushed for is to make sure our seniors have food. So through the Department of Adult and Aging Services through the County of San Bernardino, we are now providing hot meals for seniors 3 days a week.
Yes.
So
Wonderful,
Monday,
wonderful.
Wednesday, Friday for seniors at noontime. But not only that, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they're also providing take-home meals, so grab-and-go meals.
Yes.
So for those that cannot stay,
Right,
or maybe you have a family member that can't leave their house, they can have someone come and pick it up for them and take it to their house. You know, that's very, very important to take care of our seniors, especially with the rising cost of groceries, the cost of living going up, especially here in California. So this is just a small part of how we can help our community. So I advocated for it, I thought it was important, and it now has become a reality, something we're
That's
very proud of
awesome.
as an
That's-
office.
Wonderful,
very good,
wonderful.
very
Now,
good.
that talking about
Very
the
good.
food issue here for the seniors. Now, tell me, do they still have the free school lunches for the kids?
Yeah, every district's different, but I think most of our districts between Rialto, San Bernardino, and the Colton Joint Unified, all their kids, you know, qualify for free and reduced lunch. So it's a great thing. They can get, they usually have a snack in the morning, and they usually get a lunchtime meal, which is
Hot
great.
meal. Very good. That's awesome.
That is
You know,
wonderful.
on that subject matter, if I may
Yes, please.
interject a little,
Yes.
a lot of people don't know that I carried actually the legislation when I was in Congress that dealt with food stamps and changed the name of food stamps. And a lot of the members across the board were asking me, why are you so compassionate about it? And I said, well, I was on food stamps.
Right, right.
So I know what it was
Relate.
like,
Absolutely.
you know, to try to feed your family, be in line, be, I guess, humiliated by others. Because you know you're standing in line and they have cash or they have a credit card and you're there counting your coupons, you know. And so, being on the ag committee, I was able to talk about my own personal experience, and I says we've got to change the name of food stamps to SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
Nice. That's-
So I was
okay.
instrumental
SNAP,
in
okay.
changing the name for SNAP. And then I said, well, we've got to go further than that to add dignity to anybody who's
Right.
on food stamps.
Absolutely.
So EBT cards.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
why we have the EBT card. It looks
Oh.
just like an American Express or
It
a
does.
Visa.
It looks like a little credit
It
card.
adds a
And
little
no one,
dignity.
No one has to know.
No one has to know whether, you know.
Yes.
And so you go there and you're able to utilize your EBT card to buy food to provide for your family. So I did that when I was in Congress, made sure that we did that through the food bill, along with making sure when you talked about feeding the kids, is that every one of the programs, every one of the schools throughout the United States had a program to make sure that kids were fed early in the morning, because it's very difficult to go to school on an empty stomach, and you have to take a test.
Right.
You know, and it's difficult. You know, you're there, your stomach's growling, and you're saying, "Oh my gosh, you know, now I've got to take this test." You're not focused, you're not concentrating, and so now a lot of our schools have an excellent nutritional program that feeds a lot of our kids, and some of these kids even take some of that food home to their parents or other siblings that they may have at home. But
Yes.
it had to start somewhere, and when you have personal experience yourself, it's a lot easier to convince others why there is a drastic need in those areas, because a lot of times, oh, you're just saying it because you just want to do something. No, because you've experienced it.
experienced it.
You know what it's like, and you want to make a difference in someone else's life so their life will be a lot better. And you're not always going to be on SNAP, because you know the stereotypes as well. You know, you're going to be there forever. No, it's just for some people, it's the beginning to feed their family. Once they're on their feet and can do it, a lot of them will get right off of it.
That's true.
But then-
Very good.
But while they're on that program, SNAP, you know, it's wonderful that it's there for the people that are in the underserved arena. But are we providing any technical education or training or trade so that they can, you know, step up and be independent and a little more self-sufficient? Do we have trainings like that?
Well,
here
there's a lot
in
of
the county?
programs that are offered for individuals at a variety of different cities to make sure that individual can get a job training program. You know, we used to have the old SEP programs that we used to have during the Reagan administration, you would say, where those programs were available, and we did the training to many of the kids that maybe didn't want to go on to a college or university, but there was vocational training for them. And we need to do more of that right now, because not everybody is geared to go on to a four-year institution, but those vocational educational programs need to be in place, so this way you have an alternative. I want to be a mechanic, or I want to be an engineer, or I want to be a nurse. Maybe I want to get into a nursing program. What's available for me? These programs are in existence. It's just a matter of knowing where they're at, doing the research, and finding out that services are provided. And that's why, like, the county provides a lot of good services to a lot of individuals. Even the city of Rialto provides a lot of good service to a lot of people in the community, but they're not aware, whether it's done through our senior center, whether it's done through the Johnson Center recreational right here, or a veterans program that we have right here too as well.
We have that annual magazine from the city of Rialto that goes to our home.
Right.
Sure.
To tell you what's
Inland Empire?
what's going to happen during the year. But a lot of times we look at it and then just
Right.
it just kind of disappears.
Yeah.
And so we need to provide more
Yeah,
information.
resources.
Well, that's where we need, we need total involvement from all segments of our community to begin to educate our communities about what's there. And I think churches play a very important part in educating the individuals, because like most of us, we get solicited from everybody. So the minute you get a phone call, you just hang up. It says, I don't recognize that number. And yet they're calling maybe to tell you about something that's available in the community. So we've got to go through other sources to try to make sure that we do communicate with them and tell them, hey, this is available. It's just like right here in the city of Rialto. There's a lot of seniors here in this area that don't know that they can get a discount on their electricity bill, on their gas bill, on their trash bill. I mean, it makes a big difference. But we've got to do more of the education that needs to be done, and the communication that needs to be
Provide
done,
more
the
awareness.
advertisement that needs to be done, and the promotion in these areas to let a lot of our seniors know that this is available.
Right.
And
There is- go ahead.
I can share just 3 departments within the county of San Bernardino that provide some of these services. So we have the adult aging and adult services.
Yes.
So what they're beginning to do now is they're having technology, they're having tablets, so they can go to the seniors personally and kind of walk them through the technology. So many challenges and barriers for our seniors is they don't know how to use the technology. So DOS, they're the department that does that. So in regards to the SNAP and the CalFresh programs, we have our TAD program, which is Traditional Assistance Development Program, which helps with some of these transitional programs to get temporary housing, temporary money to pay for their bills. So these are good things. And the other one I'll share with you in regards to the training is our San Bernardino County Workforce Development Department.
The
It's-
workforce.
Yeah, it's located next to the
What
inland.
is it, workforce?
Workforce.
Yeah.
Workforce.
Yeah, it's located next to the, it's part of the Inland Center. So it's on the eastern side of the Inland Center.
Oh,
They
yes.
provide
Okay.
job training. They provide also how to apply for jobs. They'll help you walk you through your resume. They'll connect you with employers, and just really trying to make those connections. I think as government officials or as people involved in the community, our job is to connect the dots, kind of like my father says. People don't know.
Right.
So we have a role and responsibility to try to connect those dots. And some of the things the county's looking at doing is offering more mobile services so we get out into the community. Because sometimes,
And this is what we were speaking
Yeah.
about
That's
earlier.
what, yes, yeah, well, that's what we were talking about, mobile services, getting out there and letting people know, especially with the military going out to where they are, because they're not gonna come to us. The veterans they deserve, they are supposed to get what they're, what they deserve, the resources, but they're not getting what they need
Sure.
because they're not gonna come to us, we have to go to them.
and just the last thing I'll speak on the mobile service. One of the things we're in the process of working on is mobile medicine with the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center.
Yes,
So
that's a good
the
one.
unit that we're going to purchase is about $1 million. And we're also going to look at we're going to have one dedicated to the 5th District, which is Rialto, Colton, San Bernardino, Bloomington, and Muscoy, which is the most underserved community in the entire county. I mean, the high desert has some challenges too, but we're going to do mobile medicine so they could go to senior centers, they could go to schools, they could also address homeless issues. Because one of the things we find out is our county hospital gets inundated
Oh,
with
yes.
homeless challenges. The problem is they have to turn away people that need the medicine. So if we can go out in the streets and actually get people that need the help they need, because we're finding out about about 4 homeless are dying a month. So they're continuing to die out in the streets, not having the services.
I have heard that, yes.
Yeah, so quite a few are dying.
Well, you did this morning, didn't you go out and do a count? Because now we're trying to identify how many homeless individuals we have in the city, in the county of San Bernardino, and that was a
Went in
program that
count,
started this morning.
We lost 2 in a camp that's a block away from our church.
Yes.
Just a few weeks ago.
Yes, that's what.
So, and then we have a nonprofit we just launched at Ecclesia. It's called CDC, and it's a community development agency. And we're going to be developing that area where the encampment of the homeless had just grown. Actually,
That's behind the Blakely Center.
yeah, right behind the Blakely Center. So,
On Date Street.
State Street.
yeah, Date
yes.
Street. They moved them out, then they moved back in. They moved them out, they moved back in. So now it's like they have like the state-of-the-art tents over there. But anyway,
They
we're
have
gonna,
lights over
yeah, they have lights over there.
Lights
We don't
in
know
the
how
tents.
they get those the electricity over there. But then I wanted to just mention one of the things that you had mentioned earlier, Brother Joe, in school about the training. When we was in school, we had sheet metal shop, we had wood shop, we had
Mechanics.
auto body shop.
Right.
You know, we had these different things going on for us. It kind of gave us an opportunity to learn these things if we didn't want to go to college or whatever, right? So I ended up getting my heating and air conditioning license at an early. I was like 20-some years old,
Yes.
but I
That's
knew
your
how to
start,
weld
right.
during that segment, right? And then when I was one of the first African Americans in the Los Angeles area, had one of the largest heating and air conditioning companies in Southern California during that time. And I worked with numbers of large construction companies, and I tried to launch that program that I came up with in the San Bernardino
School district.
school, well, not only the district too, but with the city a few years ago before the pandemic, and I had a talk with the mayor about launching, and I still have the program because we purchased a lot of these homes that's need renovating in the city of San Bernardino. So we rehab those homes, right, and that gives some of the guys that actually is not working an opportunity to come and put in windows, you know,
Some
put up drywall,
Right.
you know, run some electrical wire, put
So
in
that's
roofing.
giving back to the community.
Just give it back to the
Yeah.
community.
And they
So-
can give
and
back.
yeah, definitely. So we had this program a few years ago with the CDC.
Well, do you remember Francis Christ
I
that
do.
used to
I work
run
with-
Operation
I
Second
work with
Chance?
Francis.
Yes,
And
yes.
the training that was
She
done
went to
to a lot of the
Ecclesia.
individuals that went there, it was
I
different
work with
form of vocational training, whether it
Yes.
was secretarial or whether it was
Yes.
in job placement and in one of the other fields.
I
Those
work with
programs were excellent programs that
Yes,
were in
they were.
existence and
They were.
gave a lot of our students an opportunity to go somewhere else.
Yes.
And we need to incorporate more of that within even our schools or
Yes.
looking at outside agencies that may be able to be funded both from the federal and the state level so that vocational training is there. There's an alternative.
Right. And
That I can go here and learn the trades. And when my son was talking earlier about the training for technology, I mean, we need to
Right,
be
right.
updated on technology.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm one that's not tech savvy, but
Yeah.
but it would be nice if I was
Yeah.
and learn that.
You know, there's a lot to be done for
There
our,
is.
for our people that are homeless, people with the foster children. You know, there's a lot to be done. The reentry program. You know, individuals
Transition
just get
program.
out. The
I like
transitional
that
program.
transition
They just want to,
That is
you know, just
awesome.
coming out of prison. We need to find ways to teach them, to give them programs that will let them be self-sufficient, be able to take care of themselves and their families that they began to put together.
It
at
works.
that time.
I'm one
And
of them.
And it does
It works.
work. Yes.
It works.
Yes, and
It
and
really
what
works.
I see in Pathway from Boys to Men, what I see, we have anger management classes. We have classes where we teach you how to be interviewed, teach you how to dress, teach you how to communicate.
Right.
You know, and then we hook you up with people like Home Depot, the
Right.
construction
Right.
companies,
Managers.
Right.
things like that. So this is what I'd like to see more of.
Right.
But right now, one of the things I really want to talk about, Kim, is housing.
Oh, housing. Yes,
Housing.
yes.
But we're going to have a commercial, and we'll be back in a minute. And do you guys think we can hit that subject? Housing?
Absolutely. I'd love to talk about it.
Yes.
All right. We'll be right back.
I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org.
Hello, I'm Erlinda Patterson, and I have Kimberly with me.
Yes.
This is part 2 of our television show called Essence Table Talk. And we have some great guests, and we were in a
do.
hot conversation.
Yes, we were.
Oh,
We're going to talk about
goodness.
housing.
Oh, yes, housing. And I know each one of us has a different feeling about it. So let's go to you, Joe. You haven't been in Congress, and you've seen how bills are written. You've seen how people need to get funding and how they struggle. What did you do as a congressman at that time to try to get us some housing for the homeless?
Well, I worked with Maxine Waters,
Oh,
you
did
know, who
you?
was the chair during that time in the committee. And I think it's important that we look at not just the funding that we get for affordable housing, but also what are the requirements, what are the services they can get to as well. Because we were able to get, under Section 9, we were able to get some of the individuals to get in, to move into some of these homes that were affordable. We need to have more homes that are built that are affordable. As we see the cost, the highest cost to anyone to own a home is so high. I know it's almost impossible for someone today to say, I'm going to spend $500,000 on a home. So we've got to make sure that both at the federal and at the state level that we put more emphasis on building affordable homes for a lot of the individuals in our communities because they can't afford the homes, or homes that they can rent at reasonable rates. And I know here in the city of Rialto we have Taleku, and I know my son was very involved in the Taleku housing that we
housing.
have in the area for a lot of our seniors and other
And
individuals
those are
that can move
beautiful
in
sites,
into
beautiful
those.
Teleco.
You know, but you know, not only do we build them, but we have to make sure that they're maintained. And that becomes very important in terms of maintaining those homes that are there. And I know, I believe we have 4 Taleku centers here. Three in the city of Rialto. But there's a tremendous need. And I think it's our responsibility, and I know that I was involved at the federal level to make sure that we got the funding back to our area.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
I
think
kinda figured
that's
that.
important because without that kind of funding, and I believe that we were able to bring in probably more money than anybody else to the Inland Empire during the time that I was there. Because we were able to get stimulus money and other forms of money,
Yes, I remember
and being able to be there with President Obama during that period of time to make sure that we were able to get the additional funding for our area. So it's going to be a continuous need right now
Sure it is.
as we look at our population growing, especially right here in the city of Rialto. We have a population of approximately 110,000 in the city of Rialto, and we're going to grow to 150,000 or more. And so more and more people are going to come from LA moving into this area. And as we continue to have our growth, we've got to continue to make sure that we have the housing. So housing then becomes a high priority. It's just like if we want to do downtown, I'd like to see downtown created into an old town. So we have restaurants and other facilities where they can come, like they go to Pasadena, or you go to San Diego, or you go to Claremont.
nice.
But you got to
And
have
it kind of
the
looks like an old town.
yeah. But you got to have the housing,
Yes, around it.
and to make sure that you have the people that are willing to invest to
Yes.
say, hey, this is a place that we can invest, And so we got to look at being creative, and hopefully with members of the council that we can look at what we might be able to do to make sure that we have the kind of housing in the area, and then look at affordable housing and the overall importance of the city itself and what it means to us to make life a lot better. When the quality of life improves, our communities are a lot safer, they're a lot better, because it's not just about, making sure that we have the first responders in terms of firefighters or police officers, but it's also at the same time that we maintain our community as well.
Right, and have very good ranking, high ranking school districts as well.
Oh, that's a
Definitely,
plus.
that's
I
a
mean,
given.
when people want to move into a city, they look at what kind of education, is my son or daughter going to obtain? What kind of programs do they have to offer? Can they get into a state college or a university? But I always say we're products of a community college, and there's nothing wrong going to a
Oh, yeah,
community college.
absolutely.
I'd like to see an extension of San Bernardino Community College
Valley
being done
College.
right here,
Well, I
right
heard
here.
that years ago.
Why can't we offer
talked
it right
about
here?
it
I mean,
in
I know that
Rialto.
we can do a lot through the internet now and Zooming and
Yeah.
whatever, but it would be physically, it would be nice if we had our own. Some of the other cities have their own little colleges there in their areas, and we should do the same thing here, and that would be a plus, so people don't have to
I
drive.
remember like 20 years, 25 years ago, going to, back then when I was really attentive and went to the meetings, they were talking about having, having our own college here in Rialto.
Oh, okay.
And it just kind of disappeared.
There's no reason why we can't. I've actually brought that idea since I got elected to the city council of having an extension program right here. I've talked to Joseph William, who is on the college board, and he liked the idea. And then we've just got to talk to make sure that the chancellor in that area and look at what kind of funding can be done, because the problem. And then you got to have the enrollment, because if you don't have the enrollment, you can't have a college, or you can't have a program without the enrollment of the students. So we've got to begin to start saying, maybe run a campaign and say how many people would be interested in attending a community college right here in Rialto if it was offered here, and knowing that then you have some numbers that you can take and say, well, it's worth the investment then in terms of having a community college out here versus somewhere else. But that's why, getting back to my point, is that you don't have to go to directly into a state college or university, because I think community colleges are great to try to determine what you're going to do in life. Because when you're young and you don't know, you're trying to decide, well, what's my major going to be? And I don't know how many, if you've gone to a college, how many times you've changed your major from what you
Yeah, my
originally
granddaughter
started
she's
to
a
something
junior, and
else.
she's still changing her. I'm like,
Right,
make your mind
but
up.
look at how much money that someone is spending in
Yes,
trying to get
yes.
that child or that individual to
Yes,
determine what he or she is going
And you know
to
that
be
very
doing.
well.
Yes, I do. Yes, I
But
do.
but I'm a product of a community college. My son is a product of a
So am
community
I.
college.
I am also. I went to Valley
Yeah.
College. When I graduated from Eisenhower, I said, well, I understand that, my parents couldn't afford to send me to a big university. So I went to Valley. My mother said, go to Valley. I said, okay. So I went to Valley. And I didn't know what Valley was all about. But then when I started going, I said, wow, this is a great
It
place to
is.
start. And it was wonderful. Now I've learned a lot of people went to Valley College. I'm like,
Yes.
well, thank you. I'm so glad. And I love Valley. I push Valley. And my granddaughter, she can probably go there, like you said, to take the lower division classes because they are cheaper and they are transferable.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing. They are all transferable.
Yeah,
so
as
she
long
can
as
go
it's
where she wants.
coordinated between the
Yes.
consular and the institution that the individual is
Absolutely.
going. And by the way, not only did my son, graduate from San Bernardino Valley College, my wife did too. So I'm very proud of her too as well. Yeah.
And, that's
And your
all
other
right.
son.
Oh, another son. Yeah,
yes, I
that's
do.
right.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Jeremy. Yeah. So 3 of my kids.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I think it's a great place to start.
It is.
And I like that.
So we were talking about housing. I've seen on a Sunday newspaper where they had these little tiny homes,
Oh, little
like
homes.
enough to put a little bed in there. Like in LA, that they were making little tiny homes.
Tiny homes for the homeless.
Yeah. What do you think about something like that? That's really not
I don't know where would you
where
put
we
them?
would do that. Yeah.
So I have some thoughts on housing, just kind of share with you the county's perspective. So what we did is we put together a homeless strategic plan, and they did some research. I mean, I think it's pretty common knowledge. The bottom line was capacity. Where do we put homelessness, right? And then we have to look at affordability. Some of the challenges that we have with housing is what are some of the barriers we have, in order to take them. Some people have pets, which is a
Yes.
challenge, and a lot of places don't take that. Do we do multifamily homes? Do we do single unit homes? The model has changed from what it was probably when we first looked at buying homes or renting. We may have to look a little bit different. I know what you're talking about is tiny homes. I know the city of San Bernardino has a place that builds what they call connect homes. The bottom line, in order to keep the housing prices down, we have to cut back amenities and costs. So, the typical day where you had a white picket fence, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, that has gone away. Some people are just looking for a roof over their head. So we have to look at all.
Families are living together.
Yeah.
You have 2 and 3 families living in the same house.
So you're seeing multiple families living together. So the model has changed over the years. One of the things we're doing in the county of San Bernardino, actually here in the city of Rialto. City of Rialto has a Metro South project, which is 50 units. I started it when I was on the city council. And then the city of Rialto came to me. They were short $2.1 million, so we were able to put $2.1 million from the county of San Bernardino. This project is under construction, will be done in the spring. So this will provide 50 units for our residents with some services. That's one of the great things we're doing. Also in the Muscoy community, we're looking at a 50-bed facility, which will be for the forensic population. So as they parole out of jail, they'll help with transition, getting them back into the community.
Reentry.
Absolutely. And then the other project we're working on is Pacific Village. It's right there, close to San G, close to your neighborhood. It's located on Pacific and Arden.
Yes.
And the county owns about 6.8 acres. We do have some homeless housing, but we're looking at putting a continuum of care, make sure we have recuperative care for drug treatment, job training, permanent housing. But the bottom line with all these projects, there has to be a commitment from your civic leaders.
Right.
And you got to invest money. It's going to take some money.
Oh, yeah.
But anything we can do to relieve the barriers for keeping the cost down, because the bottom line for a home builder, it's got to pencil in. It's got to make sense. So as many barriers as we can alleviate is important. We also have to look at, do we provide laundry services? Because many people don't have money or can't afford to buy a laundromat. So those are some of the things we have to consider. But the bottom line is there has to be a commitment from your civic leaders to invest in this. You can't just push it on the county. You can't push it from city to city. I think as a collective group, we all have to really buy into this.
Very good. I know this morning when I was coming here, I was going to that exit right there off of Arden and Highland.
Yes.
Well, they were cleaning it up. It was blocked off, I was like, oh my goodness, these homeless people are gone. They were there. I mean, the trash was getting so out of control right there. It was trash and cards and clothes, and it was so bad. It was just an eyesore, I have to admit. But now, this morning, it's all gone. They cleaned it. Their Caltrans was there. The police were there. They cleaned it all up. There's no more
Fire
trash.
department was there. I saw them there this
Oh, I
morning.
was like, oh my goodness.
I took my granddaughter to
the-
school.
There you go, fire department's there. And so and so that's what we need to do. Have places for them to go so they don't go back to the freeway right there. Because it was so out of control. It was getting terrible.
Kim, I'd like to, in that area, I think we need to explore the possibility of warehouses that can be utilized for a lot of our homeless individuals. And then taking into consideration some of the factors that you said too as well, son, are very important. And this will provide, at least during times where the weather is unbearable, that at least we have a place where they can go to and feel safe too as well. And then of course, we talked earlier about a mobile unit that goes out there and provides the kind of services or guidance that individuals need to as well. And it's a lot easier to go if they're at a warehouse where you can provide the services to individuals that are there too as well.
That's true. As a mental health nurse, I love that idea. I think it's wonderful. I worked forensic mental health for many years, and so that's a wonderful idea. Go for it then.
But on the housing, I had the opportunity to work with one of our presidents, Jimmy Carter, in Habitat for Humanity. He built
Nice.
32 units. I think it was in '92. He built 32 units on Santa Fe and Wilmington and Watts. 32 units right by the Watts Tower. So I had the opportunity to work with him there on that project. And the services that I provided was the heating and air conditioning. So I think that if we look into, if we're doing a service, a project in the community, if we look into the local contractors or the local, the subcontractors to come in, that gives them an opportunity to not only provide a service, but help in the community too. They can always offset their costs some kind of way or another, because what I did was I offset my cost. We worked at night, of course, but it was a good project, and the project is still there. This was in 1992. And then also, too, we're working on, my company and I is working on a project right now on Ferndale and 39th. We're building 27 units there. The plans are in plan check. Brother Jerry over in Redlands is actually working on our structural, our drawings. So as soon as those drawings is ready, we're going to start the development over there on 27 units. They're going to be low-income housing too as well. And then Green's Development, which is my company too, we're working on, I like that SB 9 because we're working on some projects. I probably picked, within the last 2 years, I picked up like 4 or 5 different projects. And I'm turning my garages into ADUs, so they'll be able to rent those ADUs out. And some of the houses I'm splitting up, so making them affordable for the community.
During the rainy, we had this huge rain. And I got a lot of calls. I'm out in the street. I don't have a place to sleep. I mean, there's only so much you can do. We don't have what is needed to have these people have somewhere to lay their heads during the rainy season. We need that. And it's a struggle. We, like churches, like ours, for instance, we give them backpacks, hygiene kits, some necessities for that day. It's like a Band-Aid, It's not really giving them tools. Again, here I go, to learn how to be independent. Right? So that's what is needed to get them out of that. I actually, I recently had an accident and fell down and can't walk too well. But I recently went down the bridge. They had a cave under the bridge. And that's where they lived. A cave. And a little doggy came out, barking, barking, barking. And of course, we gave them extra food. But I worry about the little doggy too. It's not only the people, but you work with that project, did you not?
Yeah,
recently?
it's the barriers. So one of the things we always look at barriers. People have animals and pets, and years past, they were offering services, but I have my dog. Well, we don't have anywhere to put your dog. I know that the Fontana community has a place where they begin to house the dogs while they're getting services. It's a program actually located here in the Rialto. It's Vets for Pets, and they really help veterans, but they give people a place.
Yes, I remember that program.
To store their dogs, but that's important. But just in regards to your issue, what happened a couple months ago with the heavy rains, a few homeless passed in the flood channel in the Ontario community. So what we did prior to these rains, we began sending individuals out there, the humanitarian, to make sure they get the help and services. So today, when we did the point in time count, we noticed that a lot of people were just outside of the flood channel, a lot of encampments. But those are things that are important. But back to the housing issue, I know that off Guthrie and Highland, that industrial center.
Right.
So back to kind of your point, to try to keep the costs down, there was a Senate bill that was passed to waive CEQA. And CEQA is one of the big expenses because it drags the time. So kind of to my dad's point, converting warehouses, well, this is an a commercial center. That one that's gated right there on the corner across the street from where all those challenges were. Next week, I'm going to be touring with a developer, the city of San Bernardino, and the county. We're going to be looking at potentially, can that be a project that we can convert and offer wraparound services, and that will help keep the costs down. So that's very, very important. So we're keeping those things
That's a
in
very
mind.
good mission to be on for that city. Absolutely. And if it works for one area, it'll work for the other. You know, and that really is. You know, we're almost at closing, and I don't believe it. There's just so much to talk about, so many wonderful things. Now, would you like to share anything special, Mr. Green, about what you are doing or what you intend to do in the near future,
Well,
in the work that you do with Heart to Heart?
My intention is, like Kim was saying, her kids grew up in the Rialto area. My kids is still in San Bernardino, and I kind of like, I'm originally from Compton. I grew up in Compton, right? I went to school in Compton, Watts, so forth and so on. So, you know, during the 70s and when gangs was really,
Yes.
you know, bad and drugs, it still are. So I kind of transitioned to the Inland Empire, and I kind of adopted it. So my business, my office is in San Bernardino, and we're working on this, our first major project, which is the 27 units. So we're going to just focus on other low-income housing in the San Bernardino community. I have 2 other partners that partner with me. I kind of brought them in. You know, they both own their real estate company. I have my construction company and my nonprofit, which is Heart to Heart, that we talked about earlier. So I'm going to just continue to serve the community. God, He created me to be a servant and whatever the gift that He blessed me with, and I'm just going to continue to serve the community.
That's wonderful.
That's all
We
I can
need
do.
you. Continue,
Well,
please.
we need you too.
And Joe, Mr. Baca, tell us, I know that you just got into the position of councilman here, and I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank you.
I mean, I remember when you ran for assembly, I was right there knocking on doors, you know, trying to get you in.
Well, that's
and
when
then-
we did a lot, you know, not only for prostate cancer, but at the state level. I did a lot for education
you
during
did.
that period of time. I made sure that we had more monies that were going back into education. When the lottery first came up, there was no real definition in terms of how much money would actually be going back to the schools. So I made sure that a lot of the changes were done there. But getting to the city of Rialto, I ran because I want to make the city of Rialto better. It's done a lot of good things, but we need to make it better. And there's a lot more that can be done here in the city of Rialto. But we all have to work together, whether it's in the area of housing or whether it's in the area of commercial, you know, retail, which I'd like to see a lot more being done in this immediate area. I'd like to look at what my son originally started, because he originally started with a lot of the parks and recreation in these areas that are excellent. We've probably got excellent facilities that we have, but now I says, all right, we've got them, we've got to maintain them. But at the same time, I'd like to see Wi-Fi's installed at our parks. Absolutely. Because there's a lot of our kids right now that can't afford to go to, you know, Starbucks. You know, can't afford to go to, what is it, the Dutch coffee shop or Coffee Bean, which is in the area. And if we had Wi-Fi's in a lot of our parks, because I remember when I was very young, and I don't know if you guys can remember ever going to the parks with your parents. I did. That's where we spent a lot of time. And so why not, if you have the Wi-Fi's that are available, whether that's for picnic areas or whether it's to go watch some kind of recreational activity that may be going on at the parks, a softball game or a baseball game that may be going on. At least the other individuals can utilize the Wi-Fi to help them not get behind on whatever programs they're involved or homework that they may need to complain.
That is such a,
You know,
because right now, you're right, because a lot of, like you were saying, a lot of the children in school, they don't have Wi-Fi. And so it's a barrier for them. That's why they're behind in their homework. And they can't, but they had that at the parks. That were great, because Sanji has a park right across the street.
Spiker Park.
Right, there you go.
Right,
Well, you know,
right.
sometimes a lot of bad things happen, but over there, they can just go over there and get their homework done.
Right,
Because they know they can't.
but I'm talking about Rialto. No offense to Kimberly,
I
to
love
that area where
Rialto
they need
too.
it.
I love Rialto.
But,
My mom still lives in Rialto.
Yes,
Home.
yes, yes,
Yes, Rialto is my home.
yes.
Right.
It'll always be home.
So when I look at retail stores too, that need to be built in the area that are very important for us. And then, you know, as I stated earlier, I'd like to see like an old town being built right here in downtown Rialto.
Oh, it needs to be dressed up a little
Yeah.
bit.
You know, because we need a lot more restaurants. I'd like to see a convention center. I'd like to see some kind of opera theater that's done for people can attend here in the city of Rialto. You know, the other cities have some form of activities where you can go, and there's no reason why we can't provide that for a lot of our residents here in the city of Rialto.
And that's a good vision that you're bringing to us. Thank you for that. Well, you have my support.
No, I mean, can you imagine going to
You
a
know.
concert? I mean, we put on concerts that are provided by the city, but to provide the kind of an atmosphere that'll be good and allow more people to participate and go to those kind of activities, we need that. Some other
Frisbee
cities.
Park is awesome now. It's beautiful. Frisbee Park, how they recreated, how they did everything. The where they do performing arts outside, the basketball courts. I mean, when I went to Frisbee Park, it wasn't that like that. It wasn't as nice as it is now.
Well, do you know who's
No.
responsible for that? I think he's our guest here today. Walker Jr.
$19 million invested.
Yes,
Thank you. It's beautiful. I can take my children, my grandkids down
Yes.
there and enjoy. I love the baseball fields. We used to play baseball down there. We used to go there all the time. So I played, that was my home. So we play baseball, play basketball, and we still go down there, and
Yeah.
it's just amazing.
It is.
And it may in the future you might have Wi-Fi out there too for the kids.
We hope that they
We'll
do.
see. We'll
That's
see what
something we've got to
happens.
work on.
We'll
I
see
think
what
that the
happens.
mayor also agreed with me, and I brought it up on Tuesday
Oh.
and talked about Wi-Fi. And she had just come back from Washington. And she
Yeah.
says that's an area that we've got to look at. And she says, I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah,
So
Deborah's
here's
very
an
open.
opportunity, for all of us to work
Yes.
together and saying, all right, can we do it at this park or at Simon Park,
Yes.
Simpson Park, or some of the other parks that are in the area?
Yeah.
Is to provide those people that don't have an opportunity, because not all of them can come to our
Right.
libraries. Not all of them,
That's
as I
right.
stated before, can go to a coffee shop, and and now they're starting to even charge you a little bit more for staying and using the facilities.
Yes, yes.
But, yeah.
It's been a wonderful conversation. However, I have to get one more statement, okay? Mr. Baca, please, in closing, what are your thoughts about what you want to create in the position that you're in now?
Sure. So a couple things, back to my father's comments on Wi-Fi. So what we're doing in the San Bernardino County, we're responsible for our special districts. We have 2 parks, at least in the 5th district in Bloomington. We have Kessler Park, we have Ayala Park. Actually, we're in the process of adding Wi-Fi to those parks, so that's going to happen. The other thing I want to talk about, our partnership with the city of Rialto. We got some federal money, American Rescue Plan Act money. We've invested in Rialto. So if you go to the Rialto Progress magazine,
Yes,
you'll
yes.
see our $700,000 investment
Yes.
to convert our atriums that are in our county library into study areas. So people don't realize that the city of Rialto actually owns the library, but the services are provided by the county. So that's one of the great projects that we're working on.
That's my favorite place to study.
Yeah.
Is the Rialto Library.
And things we take for granted, most of us do a lot of our studies at home, but there's a lot of families that don't have access to computers. So we think it's a great resource for our community. Those things are very, very important. And kind of back to your point, Spiker Park in San Bernardino. We're investing, the county's investing $1 million. In our conversations with San Manuel's investing $1 million.
Yes,
And
they
then
invest a lot.
And then the city of San Bernardino has invested $500,000, so Spiker Park is going to grow. But I think the most important message to the community is, look, there's a lot of challenges now. I think we have to continue to be positive and just reach out to people and continue to lift people up. I think that's the biggest message, with all the tragedies going on, the mass shootings and the unfortunate things. We got to continue to pray and continue to make sure that we help people and forget, remember why we're here.
We're here to serve.
Because one of the things I'll never forget by Barack Obama, one of his comments is, I'm only a temporary holder of this office. We got to do the best we can while we're here. So while I'm here in office, we want to help as many people as we can.
Awesome, spectacular.
That's great. That's great.
Oh, well, that's the Bacchus for you.
Yes.
And Mr. Green, thank you too. Thank you. You guys are amazing. All right, now, this has been your program. Please, in closing, thank you so much. We know that you send in your notes and let us know what you want to hear. And I think you heard about just about everything you wanted to hear today, okay? And until next time, I'm Erlinda Patterson,
Kimmy Anthony.
and see you later.